the show, I have a very important correction raised by a number of irate Game of Thrones fans. Last week, when I jokingly mentioned some of the women from Game of Thrones, I referred to the mother of dragons as Khaleesi, but as Frederick Ingrid Allman points out, her name is actually Daenerys Targaryen, also known as Daenerys Stormborn. Khaleesi, duh, is Dothraki for queen. George R.R. Martin, sorry about it. Wanted to address a comment from a couple weeks ago from My Life is Louie, who asked, I'd really like to know, why do women traditionally have long hair and men short hair? I liked that question so much that I made it 2 videos, one looking at men's hair and one looking at women's hair, and they came out this past week, and so I hope that you watched them and enjoyed them. And if you have any more questions about hair, let me know in the comments below. Thanks to everybody who commented on last week's Ask Kristen video saying no to sex. Yet again, I was blown away by the level of thoughtful discussion. Something that came up in the comments was how all this plays into longer term relationships. Sugar Apple Sweet said, do you know what needs to be talked about more? Saying no to sex while you're in a committed relationship. And I don't mean in the beginning either. Saying no to a long-term sexual partner when you don't feel up to it. I sometimes have to remind myself that it's okay to say no to my partner when I don't want to have sex, and I always wonder why I hesitate. Yasmina Screamer said, had the same thing with my relationship of 3 years. Felt like I shouldn't say no even when I was exhausted and we were a bit off with each other, and I still felt sour although we were okay again. It's weird how even with someone you love and loves you, you still have that pressure. Karina Bertrand asks, how do those ladies in relationships deal with a boyfriend acting pouty or outright angry about you saying no to sex? One side of me feels like I'm not pleasing my boyfriend enough, but the other side of me is like, no, him, I don't do what I want. I think one of the misunderstandings about sex in relationships is that, okay, it is the barometer of health. If you are having sex all the time in your relationship, that means that you guys are like super off the charts, happy and doing great. If you're not having enough sex, even though who says what is enough sex, it's a sign that you're not okay, that you're boring, that you're not right for each other. Maybe we should adjust our thinking, if you're in more of a long-term relationship, of sex not just being a barometer of the overall health of the relationship, but rather maybe it's a barometer of your communication health. Does one person become passive aggressive if their sexual needs aren't being met? Can you talk about it in a way to make sure that even if you don't necessarily want to have intercourse, that there are ways that that partner can still be sexually satisfied? It's absolutely okay to say no to sex to someone that you've been in a relationship with for a long time, but I think it's important for you to keep their needs in mind and for them to keep your needs in mind as well. This brings up a really good observation too made by Colorbrid King, who says, with this topic in mind, I think it's important to consider that it's okay for guys to say no as well. Yes, it's absolutely important to remember that, hey, sometimes guys don't want to have sex. That's the thing about relationships. You're dealing with 2 people. No matter whatever kind of romantic matchup you're dealing with, the fundamental fact of the matter is that consent should reign. And it is possible through open and honest communication and perhaps a little bit of creativity for both parties' needs to be met, even if that doesn't necessarily involve you having sex. It doesn't always take 2 to tango, but it does take the both of you to make sure that you're maintaining a healthy relationship. If your partner does not respect that you don't want to have sex, tries to force you to do something that you don't want to do, tries to guilt you into it, tries to tell you that that's your responsibility. Plenty of fish in the sea, right? I want to hear from you. How do you handle times when you don't want to have sex in relationships? And what other questions would you like me to tackle on Ask Kristen? What should I talk about next week? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, stay fantastic and thanks for watching.